Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spurs 9501 podcast. This is Ray in London. I've got Cam in his new location in Savannah, Georgia. Hello, Cam. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
No problem. This is like a one video. We were going to sort of review three games. So this is the North London derby, Eintracht Frankfurt in the Champions League, and yesterday's win against Brighton. So, Cam, let's start with the North London derby. Obviously not the result we were looking for, but give us your thoughts about what went wrong in that match, other than the fuse sending off and God knows what.
Oh God! I mean, it's such a difficult game when you immediately decide to play on the back foot, which is what we did. We decided just to sit and play on the back foot, not attack. I think with a team like Arsenal, which got so much attacking talent and so much creativity in midfield, we started to make every single one of their players look like world-class world beaters. And when you play like that, then you're on a hiding to nothing. And however we break it down and say, you know, we got back to 1-1 and Lloris, Howler, and the sending off, the reason why we lost 3-1, I don't believe that cuts it, because there's clear-cut chances and those misses. I think a couple of really clear misses by Jesus that could have really made this a massive embarrassment for Conte. Is masking it in many ways. And I think the sad thing for me, Ray, and I'd like to hear your views about this, is it showed a real gulf in class between us and Arsenal this season. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're in a lot better form they are. And let's put things into context now. Arteta's had 4 years to get together the squad that he wants. Mm-hmm. He's been given over £300 million worth to spend. So I'll be surprised if they weren't in better shape. So they're in better shape. They're a good team. They're playing well. They know how the manager wants to play. Now, let's compare that with Conte. He's been there less than a year. He's been, I don't know how much, less than 100 million spent. Let's give Conte 2 or 3 windows to get the team he wants, because he's got people like Davies, Dyer, Sanchez, Doherty, Sessegnon, Emerson, all these players, not his players. Give him 2 or 3 windows to get his players in, then we can compare Tottenham to Arsenal. But yeah, I agree with you. They're ahead of us at the moment. But what I don't understand, and I wanted to get your view on this, is when we hired Antonio Conte, we thought we got a world-class manager and blah, blah, blah. Why is a world-class manager going to Arsenal and just sitting back? Because he knows the players he's got are not good enough. Why would he go into a game with that type of game plan?
I think when you have a team like we have, where everything is predicated on 2 other wing-backs, basically, flying forward, the full-backs flying forward, and yet you have probably 2 or 3, apart from Perisic, some of the worst wing-backs in the country in terms of quality in the Premier League. And you go up and down those teams and you see some of the players that are in the other teams. And I'm not just talking about top 6. Then you've got to really think about what your strengths are. Are we playing to our strengths? I don't believe we are. I think handing Arsenal with Odegaard and Partey and Xhaka, handing them the midfield, you're on a hiding to nothing. And that's what we did with Martinelli in there too. And I would have thought if he had played like we did against Brighton with Basuma sitting behind those 2, it would have been a different game. A completely different game. But once you hand them that kind of quality, the midfield, I mean, we could go on and on about everything else, but it's practically, you just said, there you go, take the game. But then again, I go back to defend. Are they good enough to defend? Clearly they weren't. We let in 3 goals.
But let me ask you a question. Again, I go back to the point. Conte is this world-class leading manager, one of the top few managers in the world. Why is he going to give the midfield over? He must have had a game plan, surely. What was the game plan?
What was the game plan? I think the game plan was absorb the pressure, hit them on the break, as it always has, wait for crosses to come in from both sides. Emerson Royal can't cross to save his life. I mean, I've never known a player who plays on the wing and can't cross the ball. He can defend a bit. I'm going to give him some of his dues. He can defend a bit, and he's got some pace. But he can't pass and he can't cross. So he's definitely in the wrong position. I don't get it.
Was it a sending off, Emerson's tackle?
And I think once you're...
Did you say yes, it is a sending off?
Probably I would say... No. I think it was a harsh sending off. But, I mean, maybe they did us a favour. I mean, he'd obviously lost the plot, you know? It's so.
I heard that Spurs appealed the ban and wanted it increased to 10 games.
That's right. I think every single Spurs fan did. I mean, most people after that game, especially this weekend, were happy that Emerson wasn't playing, and I think you could see the difference in the team, and it's pretty sad because this is a guy who's come from Barcelona with all the hype, and all the hype from the Spanish league, and it really hasn't cut it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to talk about one more thing about the derby before we move on to the next game.
Oh, no, we're not moving on yet. I wanted to talk to you about Hugo Lloris, make some brilliant save, but he's always got a ricket in him, isn't he? I mean, come on. This is one of the highest profile games, and he's always got a ricket in him, hasn't he?
What he did in that game was unforgivable. I mean, that was just, I think I would have even caught that. It was just like bubble to him, and he let it under his body. And I mean, it was a free goal. And when you, in the North London derby, hand a free goal to a team like that, and then to have a free sending off, it's over. I mean, to me, it mirrored very much the 3-0 defeat that we had, a victory we had against Arsenal at the back end of last season, where they fell to pieces. They had a sending off. They couldn't cope with the pressure, and we took full advantage of it. And I felt exactly this was just like a mirror image of that game.
I still go back to the point. I'm disappointed that one of the factors we had was Conte, a game plan to try and stifle. He knows exactly what Arsenal could do. I was disappointed it wasn't a game plan. Maybe there was and they couldn't execute it. I'm not sure.
There was a game plan, but I think that, I was reading up an article just before the Brighton game, which said that Conte went through the same slump and the same issues at Chelsea, and he changed his formation. He went through the same thing at Inter when he then brought Eriksen in for a run of 12 games. Who had up till then been on the bench, and they won every single one, and they basically went on to win the league. So he is not unknown to change things up when it's not working. And I think we're at that stage now at our season where something needs to change.
Yeah. Okay, final thoughts on the North London derby. Do you think Arsenal can win the league or not?
But final thoughts I wanted to say is I thought that, again, this is an opportunity for players like Gil, Richarlison to shine, and I think they drew blanks again. And I mean, how many blanks can they keep drawing before we just say, what the hell is going on with our recruitment? Can Arsenal win the league? No, because obviously City are easily going to win it. And while I'm just get sick and tired of the money and the fortunes and the riches of City and the way that they're funded, at least it means that the Gooners won't be able to gloat over us. So that's some small consolation. But will they come second? Most likely. And will they beat Liverpool today? Most likely.
Oh, great. That's a horrible thing to end on the North London derby. Let's move on now to the Champions League with Eintracht Frankfurt. I think we should have won that game. We had enough chances to win that game. A lot better performance. Your thoughts?
My thoughts, tired team, tired performance. We should have won that game, but the strategy is like a long chess game, isn't it? Like a strategy is to bore the opponents to death until they just give up and say score and go home. Obviously didn't work. But it was a bore. And unfortunately, if you looked at every single other European game, this was probably the worst game to a very poor quality teams in the Champions League. And what worries me very much is if this is our quality in the Champions League right now, we aren't going to be going very far. We might get through the group stages because, it's a wide open group. But what happens next? Because you can't be playing like that against the Barcelonas, against the Inters, against the AC Milans, against the Napolis, against the Real Madrids and the Chelseas, Liverpools and Manchester City's expect to go anywhere, right?
Yeah,
or Bayern Munich. I mean, this was if that was not Frankfurt and that was Bayern Munich, we're looking at 7-8-9-0 whacking again. That's my worry.
The players just look tired. They look shot. They just look so tired. I mean, obviously they're playing so many games. It's really difficult. But do you think we're going to get into the group stages or not? Oh, the knockout stages. My apologies. Yeah.
I think we'll get into the group stages because we've been blessed with one of the weakest groups that is out there. And,
so Europe, everybody's calling it a Europa League group.
Yeah, exactly. I said Sporting didn't make it.
Yeah.
We didn't beat Marseille. That gives us an opening, doesn't it? But if we don't beat
it does,
Frankfurt this week, then it's over. Is it this week we're beating Frankfurt,
I think
right?
so, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, we're playing them on Wednesday. Let's hope we can beat them.
Yeah.
What else how do you think Brian Gill did on his like cameo performance?
Awful.
Do you think he's cut out for the Premier League? He's so
I don't know
small. He
what he's
just
cut
pushed
out
off the
for.
ball. He's
I
not
don't
really
know
cut
what
out
he's
for the
cut
Premier
out for.
League.
I don't know what he does. I mean, he's good. He runs around. He's a little bit of a headless chicken. He runs around with the ball. He's got no end product. He's got no beginning product. I mean, let's put our cards on the table. What is he bringing? Yes, technically he's good on the ball. He looks good on the ball. He's got speed. He's got a turn. What else has he got? You tell me.
I'm not sure why. I mean, I don't know why he wasn't sent out on loan. Apparently, they wanted to send him on loan, but they couldn't find a replacement. But if he's never going to play, why do you need a replacement for him? Just send him out.
Well, absolutely, and the same goes for Sarr. We signed this youngster from I think
You've got to give him a chance. I mean, you haven't even given him a chance.
Yeah. Well, if he wasn't going to play, send him on loan.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you on that 100%. Yeah, 100%. Still got a very short bench. I mean, if you're playing 3-4-3, you've only got Kulu or Richarlison on the bench. You don't have a really strong bench. Let's see what he does in the next transfer window anyway.
Yes.
So just to summarize, how did you think Clement Longley did in the game against Frankfurt?
I think he did okay. I mean, I think if I'm going to be choosing between Davis and Longley, I think I chose Longley every day of the week because I think he'll only get better the more he plays in the Premier League.
Davis tends to go a bit more forward and make some runs. And Longley doesn't go forward; he stays back.
He does, but we're not. I mean, I'd rather Longley stayed back and Romero went more forward because I saw some of Romero's runs. He's better. He's a better runner. He's got more pace, and he's got more drive. I'd rather that and Longley and Dyer stayed back. Even if Dyer went forward, he's got a better shot on him. So we need a player who can hold back there. And I think if we're going to have Lloris and he's probably would have a much better understanding with Longley. I mean, the language and the fact that they both play for the French team. It's a no-brainer. Is Davis better than Longley? No, he's not. Obviously, he's not. Is Longley at his full peak? I don't think so. So keep playing him and he'll get better.
Okay.
Agreed?
Okay. Let's move on now to the Brighton game yesterday. Obviously, very happy with the win. Obviously, the change in formation, 3-5-2, although Basuma came off because he had a booking. Your thoughts on firstly, let's start with the formation. Happy with that?
I think it was a breath of fresh air, and it's about time. I don't think there's one Spurs fan that didn't want to see that change. I'm desperate for the change, desperate to stop seeing us being totally overrun in midfield. Where, I mean, if you're Højbjerg and Bentancur and there's just the two of you to try and hold back what in effect is four players, it's just an impossibility. So it was so good to see that, especially when you've got weak fullbacks who don't come in to provide that extra cover. So this was a no-brainer for me.
So in terms of that 3-5-2, is it Basuma at the pivot of that and the two Højbjerg and Bentancur moving forward, or is it interchangeable? How does that work?
I think it's got to be that, exactly how you said. Basuma is much better. I mean, the amount of plays that he broke up against Brighton, okay, you may argue that he knew the players better and he probably understood how they were going to play. That's one of the reasons for bringing him in, but it's not good enough. But a lot of that breakdown play and a lot of the forward transitions that we had came from Basuma's breaking it down and passing it forward. I thought he can only get better, can't he?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So much better that he can get that. I think that he could be transformative for this team.
How did you think? Obviously, Son and Kane again combined for the goal, but generally, I didn't think Sonny was on the ball again. What do you think?
I don't think he was. I mean, that really close offside goal that he scored was the kind of Son that we want to see. But it was offside. What a shame. No, he wasn't. But you know what?
Still, his final ball is lacking.
I'm going to say something
very
controversial to you, which is you're going to be upset with me. But I mean, Richarlison was absolutely awful, and I do not get it. I do not understand it, and everyone wants a handpecker and someone who goes around and makes a nuisance of himself. I want a goal scorer. I'm sorry. I want someone who creates chances and scores goals, and I ain't seen it. And
I think he's just looking for the first goal, and then you'll see him fly. It's just a confidence thing. He needs to score.
Awful. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. He was awful when he came on.
Okay, again, he's suffering from the same thing everybody else is. He's tired. He's not used to playing 3 games in a week. It is what it is, man. But it's still, I'd rather have him there than other Brian Gill or somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think of the performance yesterday? Did you think we deserved to win that 1-0, or would a draw have been a fairer result?
Look, after the beating at the London derby, after the awful performance against Frankfurt, where we finally managed to get a point, let's face it, everyone thought that, in the last 2 minutes Frankfurt were going to come good, and they almost did, and knock us and give us a knockout blow. But we needed to change things around in this sense that, like everyone was saying, 3 points is 3 points, however you get them. And at some stage, we just needed those 3 points against a team like Brighton that I think at that stage would have gone above us potentially, or were fourth. Yeah. It was very important. Brighton are flying high, 3-3 against Liverpool. They've got some good players. They've lost their top manager, of course, as we all know. But I mean, they seem to have brought in another pretty good manager in Dorezi. But we needed to beat them. Someone was saying to me, I think Jamal was saying earlier to me before the game, is that, Brighton are a really good team. A draw would be a good result. I said, look, if you want to be a top 4 team, you've got to be beating the Brightons, however good they are. You don't beat the Brightons, you don't get top 4. You don't win games, you don't get top 4. You don't win anything. You got to win games. We won the game, and we can build from there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Brighton's a really good team. I think it's a really good win. They're going to give a lot of teams a lot of problems, Brighton. So let's not underestimate the power of this win. I think it's a great win.
Absolutely.
Sad news will finish now, but the sad news of the death of Gian Piero Ventroni is a shock to me. I didn't even know he was ill. Apparently he had acute leukemia, only diagnosed recently. Your thoughts on that?
Scary, isn't it? Scary stuff. We're all getting old. Scary stuff. I mean, especially from the fitness coach. I mean, you'd have thought that you would have, they would have, it's a sickness. What can you say? But I mean, he's done a great job in getting these guys fit. I think they used to call him the Marine because of his the work that he did in terms of keeping them super fit. It's clearly visible from all the players and from the management team that he was well loved and that he was an important part of the whole structure at Spurs. And condolences.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't underestimate the impact this has had on the team, on Conte. He was very close to Conte. Imagine the team, somebody you work with day in, day out, they pass away. It must have an effect on the team. So, hats off to them to go out yesterday and to make that win for Gian Piero.
I totally agree with you.
I've got to give them a lot of credit for that, And obviously, we don't realise what's happening. Maybe they found out about the illness and they were off the game, but the
thing is, it's obviously, it's a very important role, and that's a very, very long season, and we need someone of his caliber to come in and keep those players on their toes. You can't let that side of the game slip in the modern game. I mean, fitness is the difference between winning and losing as the season goes on.
Okay, Cam, thanks very much for your analysis. We'll be back next week with analysis. We've got Everton at home, I think, next week, and then we've also got Eintracht midweek. So predictions for Eintracht before we move on?
It's a must-win game. It's a must-win game. That's the bottom line. I would hope 2-0. I mean, I don't see Eintracht are not a good team. Of the 4 teams that are there, I think all the other teams are better. If we do not get points off Eintracht, we're out of the Champions League. Okay. That's my view.
Okay, Cam, take care. We'll speak to you next week. Have a good one, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.